Coming up on Tekzilla, the search for the perfect $500 HD TV, Xbox versus PS3, Windows 8, we got a release date, wide-angle webcam mods, bargain AV receiver update, public transportation, and jumping from 6 to 24 gigs of RAM. So mix up some lemon juice and water and pour in the sugar, because Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is brought to you by The Ben Heck Show, Windows Azure, and Squarespace. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Hey, whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or why Korean barbecue tacos taste better than regular tacos, we've got an answer for you.
I think that depends on the tacos in question.
Perhaps. I'm a fan of the fresh fish taco. At my
gotta go to
local,
Baja.
Los Pericos, if you're ever in town.
No.
Let's do it.
No. Gotta go to Baja. Hey, if we don't have an answer, we'll track down somebody who does. We try not to invent them. We try to get the real deal. Speaking of which, autumn 2012 for Windows 8. Yeah, TechRadar.com, that's what they're saying. It's kind of funny. They obviously had their Captain Nemo decoder rings on because TechRadar says, based on this quote from Microsoft's BizDev VP, Daniel Lewin, you're looking at his shiny face right there. Quote, he said, "We will be in market. If you look at the crystal ball and just say what happened in the past is a reasonable indicator of what our forward-looking timelines will be, and just speculate." We've made the point about having a developer conference later this year, and then typically we enter a beta phase, and then in 12 months we're in the market, so let's make that assumption. Okay, so based on that gibberish,
I'm a big fan of the beta.
autumn 2012.
Sounds like a plan.
Beta,
I'm ready.
late alpha, early beta, possibly this fall.
An excuse to build a brand new system.
Are you excited to get your Windows 8 on?
Come 2012, I will be. I'll be itching. I gotta say though, Windows 7 has been wonderful. I think.
I love it.
Not to be a fanboy, but it's just, it worked out really well.
Basically, the only person I know who's not happy with Windows 7 is Jim Lauterbach.
I did lose some old hardware support
Right.
with Windows 7. It's like suddenly, oh, we had an XP driver, but oh no, forget Windows 7. We're not even gonna think about it. And
For what?
a webcam. A webcam. It was
Okay. So you had like a pre-USB standard webcam.
They had drivers all the way up until just recent. I won't name the company.
Not that you're bitter.
No. I bought a new webcam though. I was all right.
And you know what? It was probably a much better webcam with a much better lens and much better.
Everything around
color
the
quality.
whole package was pretty good.
Maybe they were embarrassed of how that webcam looked. By the way, your phone is going to look embarrassing by sometime probably next year. Boy Genius Report says Google's next Nexus, the Nexus 3, going to be a monster. I don't know why they have a picture of a fluffy creature holding a phone, but we're talking about dual-core 1.2 or 1.5 gigahertz CPUs, a 720p screen, 1080p HD video capture, and no buttons. And of course, 4G LTE.
Nice. Liquid performance.
Somebody call Apple and say it's time. It's time to get 4G on the iPhone.
Yeah. Put all the standards in one world phone. That's all I want. But I like dual core action. That'll be nice. Absolutely no more slowdowns now in the interface. App should snap. I'm gonna love it all.
That's basically a higher. It's like an iPad 2 in Android in a 4-inch case.
I can go for that. Hey, from the What Are They Stupid department, Duke Nukem's PR department threatens to punish sites that run negative reviews. The story's from Ars Technica, and they say that the Redner Group threatened to boycott game reviewers that were venomous to their Duke Nukem Forever reviews. Well, low scores were okay, which is good, because Duke Nukem Forever currently has an average of 49 on Metacritic.
Ow!
49. How many years did that 49 take? Ouch. 2K Games says that they don't endorse the comments and that the Redner Group no longer represents our products. I think that's a pretty good move, though.
Yeah, that's
venomous.
Well, basically, I guess the principal of the
Acid
PR company was threatening reviewers because they were too mean. They were too mean to Mr. Duke Nukem.
Gotta be careful about threatening people.
You were not. I mean, how many years have you been waiting for Duke? How many years ago did you stop waiting for Duke Nukem and lose track of your original receipt?
When I was gonna say, when I lost the receipt for the pre-buy on Duke Nukem Forever, I had it for like, I want to say
4, 5,
7
6
years. And then I moved one too many times, and it went away, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. The investment's over.
Oh, thinking about buying an Airport Extreme or time capsule, you might want to wait a little bit. 9 to 5 Max says the new Airport Extremes and time capsules are confirmed. They found information, and basically the latest airport utility update has code that points to new versions of the Airport Extreme and the time capsule.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, and props to Pandora. They did the IPO thing last week. Hopefully they'll still be worth $3 or $4 billion this week.
It was crazy. I guess they expected to be open at 7 to 10, or they opened at like 16. They're up at 20.
Today was a wicked day on the market, though, due to overseas conditions.
Overseas conditions. I'm glad one of us understands the market.
That's a solid service, even though I don't believe they've made a dime yet. They are becoming profitable. And just look at how many devices you can find their service on now, compared to like back in the day where you had like 2 or 3.
Car stereos. Boom. Every cell phone on the planet.
Even my mom uses Pandora. She loves it. She needs her Elvis channel.
Does your mom drink Starbucks?
Not much.
Okay.
She makes her coffee at home. She drinks those weird flavored coffees. I'm like, wow.
I bring this up because Android, there's now an Android application for Starbucks lovers.
Starbucks.
So the Starbucks app for Android now lets you pay, find one of the 9,000 locations to let you use the system, or hey, manage gift cards. If you've been desperate to pay for something by your phone, if you're running Android, you can now pay for Starbucks on your Android phone.
I'm happy that I can go to the ballpark now and watch a ball game and use my phone as my ticket. That was kind of nifty. Although they charge you more to do that.
It's a convenience fee.
Yes.
Yes, they learned that from somewhere. Where did they learn that from?
Ticketmaster.
Garmin bought Navigon, which kind of blew me out of the water yesterday. Navigon is mostly what I use on the phone. But it's interesting, Garmin had not had any particular amount of success on, I should say, Garmin hasn't had a lot of success on the iPhone. They're not real big in Europe. So Navigon, which has a great iPhone application,
awesome.
and obviously a huge European presence, them being a European company. So Garmin has bought Navigon.
I've always liked Navigon's interface. They were doing a lot of things earlier, like lane assist type scenarios. As far as I know, a couple of years before everyone else was, and I always thought, like, ooh, that's why you kind of pay the premium for their hardware.
I've always loved Garmin's devices for in-car. I was not particularly thrilled with the application they released on the iPhone. I have been using Navigon extensively. It's funny because I paid out of my own pocket for TomTom and Navigon and several others. I also...
the phone apps?
Yeah, the phone apps. I also managed to irritate the people at MotionX. And did I close that link by accident? Basically, the MotionX will want me to remind you that...
Are they a GPS company too?
MotionX actually...
I should know this, but...
MotionX GPS Drive. They also do more kind of sports-based stuff. I love this application. It costs nothing up front after you get your first 30-day trial. If you want to do their voice commands, it costs you a little bit extra. But for me, it's really frustrating because you cannot load, if you are out of cell phone range, you can't load additional maps or routes, right? So if I'm in the middle of Utah and I decide I want to change, or if I want to, hey, I want to go to this place instead of that place. What you can do is they want to make sure everyone knows that you can preload maps. So you can go in, they have really nice, I gotta say the tutorials on the MotionX websites are fantastic, but basically you can go through and it'll tell you how to, whoops, there it is. Touch preload maps to begin the map download process. This works 1,000 times better on Wi-Fi. Well, actually, I don't even know if I've ever gotten it to work on 3G, but it works just spiffy on Wi-Fi at home. Definitely check that out. And we got a question from Miguel.
Miguel, yes, he writes in with this request. He writes, I love the show. I was asked by my CEO to get him a webcam, but he wants one that can be mounted under an LCD in his office. And it will work with Microsoft Live Meeting and accommodate 4 to 6 people in front of the LCD. Normal webcams work for one person, but are poor with multiple people. Do you have any suggestions for a camera that can be used? Signed, Miguel in Mountain View, California, just down south of us.
So I have...
what are your thoughts, sir?
I have Velcro here, and... let's see if we can get a shot of that. So this is Logitech's. I want to say their
slick-looking camera.
Is that the 910? It's like my own personal camera, and
Carl Zeiss 1080p.
So I start flinging monitors around. Basically, this is one of
hardware accelerated.
Well, it's funny because net cams are always designed to be mounted on the top of the monitor, right? That's
or your notebook
or the
display.
So we grabbed a little bit of Velcro, which is available in any hardware store. You know, we put the Velcro on here. We peeled the backing off. We put the other part of the Velcro on the top. And then you just saw it live a few seconds ago. We stuck Velcro onto a monitor. So that's one way you know, zip tie your cables out of the
Nice.
way. That's one way to get it on there. But here's the thing. Do me a favor.
Yes.
Stand
Anything. Well,
next to.
just about anything. So.
I think I've just mightily upset photo booth.
Uh-oh.
Have we just had a complete photo booth? Photo booth. This is great. Photo booth is just completely locked up.
Who
on
makes that software?
That would be. Here, let me quit photo booth and restart photo booth.
Aw, it went all funky. It
I
went
killed the
sideways.
photo booth. Well, the reason I want to show this on photo booth is there's a couple things going on. When you mount a camera, your CEO might want to be aware of a couple, three, four
Pointing
things.
at you.
One,
Oh, it's your
when you mount a
notebook's
camera at the bottom of the monitor, there we go. This is kind of funny. Now it's switched back
your
to the wrong
notebook's
camera
camera.
again.
There he is. I found Patrick.
Oh, rat weasels. Let me try Skype really quickly because everybody knows Skype is fast and easy, right?
Well, I know where in the Skype menu to change cameras and audio hardware and things like that.
Well, I had it
so.
running off of that one before. Let's see. Let me sign in here.
Do it. Do it now.
I'm doing it fast, man.
It's okay. We got it.
So, hold on.
Oh. I like the Velcro idea, though.
Why does it Skype always run slower when you need to do something?
I have another suggestion for using, you know, gaffer's tape. And I'd suggest that over duct tape, just because it doesn't leave a sticky residue on everything.
Well, double stick tape if it's going to be a permanent mount.
Oh, that's
so-
true too. That stuff can be quite sticky.
Dude, look at this camera. This is the camera mounted on the bottom, right? So if the camera's mounted on the bottom, you're going to get that sort of shot from below. So
Oh yeah, up your nose.
yeah, the up your nose cam. Also, it tends to accentuate any additional padding under the chin.
I'm working on that.
I've also heard this. I've heard this called the waddle cam, the cleavage cam, the neck
Just sit
cam,
lower in the
the
desk.
nostril
Just
cam.
scooch down.
The other problem is it's really hard. You're basically not going to find a. You're pretty much not going to find a camera that's got a super wide angle lens. So the easiest thing to do is if the 4 or 5 people that want to be on the webcam can sit several feet away.
Oh, totally.
And there's also issues with getting 4 or 5 people to have clear and acceptable audio on that, which we highly recommend an external mic. What you can do is, by the way, I also want to point out Logitech has their C510, which is a little less expensive, and it's got a nice cutaway on the back of it, and that would make it a little bit easier to mount on the bottom of a monitor. Let me try not highlighting that. So something worth checking out, the AC Webcam 5C10. But if you want to try to do a wide angle lens, you can either go crazy and get camcorder lenses. B&H Photo is like that, or you could try some of the jelly camera phone filters. I love photojojo.com. It's an amazing website with tips and tricks and inexpensive hardware. But the idea is that basically you can stick one of these on to that net cam, hopefully. And I haven't tried this. I've used it with cell phones, and well, you probably don't want the crazy, you know,
The fish filter.
6-headed monster effect. That probably will really tick off your CEO. But the idea is that if you go with a wide angle lens, you will get a much wider shot. That'll help with getting 4 or 5 people on the camera at once. If you want to get sort of start gluing stuff on there or epoxying stuff on there, check out B&H Photo, the camcorder accessories. And you're going to want to look for the smallest wide angle lens that they sell for your own sanity.
I was going to say too, depending on what kind of office this is, if there's a newer TV around as well, some of the new TVs have Skype built in, and you can have a 720p camera designed for shooting at a longer distance. It kind of gives you a wider field of view. And it usually incorporates something like an array microphone too for picking up the voices better. This seems to have at least stereo on it. They may have more than just 2 mics.
A lot of any of the mics with noise canceling will help out a lot. I don't know if we can actually see that photo on there again, but I gotta say, distance is your biggest friend when you're using a net cam with multiple people.
Totally.
I'm just saying. So, you know, the farther away you are from things, the easier it is to get lots of people into it. The farther away you are from people, the easier it is to get multiples in there.
And it hides blemishes.
We have got to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors. Let's do that. We're going to be right back with HD Nation. Join modding wizard Ben Heck and friends as they build and modify a host of amazing community-inspired creations. Be sure to watch new episodes of The Ben Heck Show every 2 weeks right here at revision3.com/TBHS. In this episode of The Ben Heck Show, Ben builds a portable 3D printer, like a MakerBot or a RepRap from scratch in 2 weeks to get it ready for Maker Faire Bay Area 2011. And stay tuned at element14.com/TBHS to find out how you can enter and win Ben's portable 3D printer and other builds from his show. Time to get our HD Nation on. We have a sad email from Cade who who writes, I recently returned home after a 3-day break from college to find that my apartment had been broken into. They took everything. I mean, literally, they took everything from the email conversation I had with Cade. Luckily, he says I had my Mac with me, but I lost my HDTV, my PS3, all my games, my iPad, 2 pairs of expensive headphones, my assortment of hard drives that I had lying around. No personal data, all movies and music. Nothing is covered by insurance, and I have $1,000 that my super awesome uncle gave me to replace what I could. I need an HDTV and a game console the most. What's a good HDTV for around $500? And should I stick with a PS3 or go Xbox 360 since I now have a choice? Cade at SIUE.
All good questions.
We should point out renters insurance. It sounds oh so cheap in hindsight.
It is, really.
I'm just saying.
Cheaper car insurance. Should be anyway.
Yeah.
They stole the games too, so.
Well, it's kind of funny. He stole the games. So Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville, we feel for you, dude. And whoever stole his stuff, go choke yourself in the Mississippi or the Illinois River.
His
or whatever.
laptop and his couch as a bed, at least.
That's
and some
true.
Clothes.
That's a start. Those are hard
so
to
you're not
sell
running around
on the
naked
street.
with nothing. Well, and you can send email, hopefully. Steal Wi-Fi. Well, I'm not going to tell you steal, but.
It's kind of funny. Well, here's the thing. I asked Cade, do you know, all of his games are gone, so,
right.
you know, it's not like he's got a pile of PS3 games. He's not particularly interested in this point at Blu-ray movies, so that really opens it wide up. Do you think either one is that much more fun than the other for, like, watching Netflix? I mean, you know, is there a game you miss on the PS3? Because the PS3's advantages is it's a great Blu-ray player. You know, the Xbox 360
does all the streaming stuff terrific. It's got Vudu and Netflix and all of that. I would say it really comes down to if you're a multiplayer gamer online, then you pretty much are playing with a group of people, and I think it would be more difficult to switch consoles at that point. So that would be one recommendation, I guess, for the PS3. However, if I were buying from scratch, I'd be tempted to go with an Xbox just for the superior game store. And the online shopping in general seems to be a little more robust than what Sony's up to. And although I think I wonder if you still get the deal, well, if you're probably gonna run out of time on it, but Sony's giving away all that free content and games and stuff right now just to say, please come back. And that might be some incentive to go buy one for just that alone. But I think it comes down to who do you play games with more.
Yeah.
Now, as far as HDTV recommendations, I have a few. $500 isn't a lot, but get this. Samsung has this plasma. It's their D450 series, 43 inches, 720p. Great for movie night, but I'm kind of less keen on using plasmas for lengthy gaming sessions. You have that potential to burn an image in there, especially if you don't take care of it right. Also, it's 2 HDMI ports, may require you to get an additional HDMI switch if you're going to be plugging in lots of HDMI-based gear.
Well, it doesn't have any HDMI-based gear right now.
Well, that's true. You're starting fresh, but all your new gear will, and just about everything else does. Now, going LCD, Toshiba has a really inexpensive 32-inch, well, about for $500, the E200U series. 1080p resolution, 60Hz display. Their theater picture preset is one of the best I've ever looked at. It also has a terrific gaming mode to reduce lag on inputs, really important. Also, 4 HDMI ports, and they feature Silicon Image's Instaport technology, so that, well, if you switch inputs on the TV, it's nearly instantaneous, and that is something you come to appreciate the longer you have it. Now, if you need a big screen TV, Best Buy has a house brand called Dynex, and they have a 46-inch model, 1080p, on sale right now for under $500, the DX46L260A12M. And while it still only features 2 HDMI ports, or also features only 2 HDMI ports, and a pretty limited set of picture controls, that's a darn good deal for a big, bright, and detailed picture. 46-inch screen for, right now on sale at least, under $500. That's kind of what I was leaning toward. However, if you want features and performance all in one package, Vizio, get this, their XVT323SV, it's their latest model, 32-inch, 1080p resolution, 120 Hz performance, plus all their apps, built-in Wi-Fi, plenty of HDMI ports, plus you have their app store as well, so that not only does it have Wi-Fi built in, you don't have to worry about connecting it up to your network locally, you can just basically plug and play on that sucker and go nuts. I'd say if you're more interested in all the other features, and it's LED backlit, or I guess edge lit would be the most likely case. I'd say if you have to have the big screen, I'd side more toward the Dynex, just because that's just a darn good deal. But if you want a little extra performance and bells and whistles, I think the Vizio is a good way to go.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Speaking of keeping your budget down, John recently shot us an email. Oh, by the way, Grado SR60s, they will hold you over for $65, $70. until you find more headphones, Cade. And also, it just occurred to me, check Craigslist or if there's any kind of classified postings at your university. There's got to be somebody desperate for ramen money around your school that wants to resell you your PS3 or somebody else's Xbox 360. Just kidding. John recently shot us this email. He says the AVR 591 that you and I bought has been replaced on Denon's site by the AVR 1612. I guess it's actually the AVR 1611 that's been replaced, and the 391, 591, 791 series has been dropped. I never did understand what the difference was between the 3-digit and 4-digit model numbers, mostly marketing. He says, I got my AVR 591 several months ago for $250. There's still some left on Amazon and a few other places for under $300. I watched the show on TiVo, and
Eddie enjoys it.
I enjoy it.
Don't do that.
No, it's in an honor box. It's safe. John. So, this is the Denon AVR 1612, basically selling for the same price, the 591, $349.
Good to know.
It is feature packed. I use
latest version of Odyssey.
Yeah,
we talk about all the time. The EQ.
I use the 591 at home, which is a fantastic amplifier for $350. You're going to spend another $100, $150 to get 7.1, which I don't particularly think anybody needs at this point. But yeah, this is like 75 watts per channel. And it's a good, healthy 75 watts per channel.
Nice, unless you're going to be just driving giant subwoofers on all 5 channels. I think 75 will probably do you right. So, it's not a 5.8 bad.
Well, where'd that Odyssey listing go? Oh, well, we'll look that up later. Hey, Blu-rays?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, now it is time for the new Blu-ray releases for the week of June 21st, 2011. First up, Mega Python vs. Gatoroid. This 2011 film premiered on the Sci-Fi Channel in January and stars 80s pop stars Debbie Gibson and Tiffany as an animal rights activist and a park ranger, respectively. With a 90-minute running time, a 1:7:8:1 aspect ratio, and a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 mix, this movie includes a behind-the-scenes featurette, but is otherwise light on the extras. While I haven't seen the film itself, the trailer makes the CG look pretty atrocious. But I have a feeling that if you love movies like Dino Croc and Mega Shark vs. Crocosaurus, you probably won't be disappointed. Next up, The Adjustment Bureau. This 2011 thriller stars Matt Damon and Emily Blunt, and it's based on a novel by Philip K. Dick. This release comes with a DVD and a digital copy, and the Blu-ray includes an AVC MPEG-4 codec, a 1:8:5:1 aspect ratio, and an English DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 mix. Extras include deleted and extended scenes, a director's commentary, a behind-the-scenes look at how they filmed the ending sequence through New York City, featuring interviews from the cast and crew, a featurette focusing on Matt Damon and Emily Blunt's characters and the relationship between them, and a featurette that looks at how Emily Blunt trained for her role as a dancer. Exclusive to the Blu-ray is an interactive map that lets you explore New York City through the portals that were so vital to the film. Each location links to either a behind-the-scenes look at that spot or a scene from the film that took place there. Also released this week, Louie, the complete first season. With the premiere of the second season airing this week, it's a good time to bring you up to speed on the first season of this FX sitcom that was created by, written by, directed by, and starring Louis C.K. This release comes with 2 discs that each have a Blu-ray on one side and a DVD on the other. I don't think I've seen that before. And they included a 1:7:8:1 aspect ratio and a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 mix. Extras include commentary on 11 of the 13 episodes, 33 minutes of deleted scenes with introductions by Louis himself, unaired and unrated comedy sketches, and a 3-minute promo for the Fox Movie Channel. And as always, check out our show notes at Tekzilla.com or hdnation.tv for the rest of this week's Blu-ray releases.
Windows Azure is the cloud platform for developers that lets you focus on building and running apps, not infrastructure. Scalable, pay-as-you-go capacity, meaning developers don't have to wait to develop. Get faster speed to market and generate immediate demand. You only rent what you need when you need it. It's a rich platform with built-in connectivity and dev tools. We're talking about focusing on business logic to get a head start on time to market rather than figuring out how to build your own tools. Flexible deployment gives you the ability to run on Windows Azure or your own systems. With Windows Azure burst capacity, you can deploy with confidence, running your apps where and when it makes sense without worrying about overwhelmed systems. To learn more about everything you need to start developing with Windows Azure, check out Microsoft.com/cloud/Windows Azure. A bunch of folks have asked for more info on the Topo Maps program I've been using on our trips, the family trips to the parts of the world where the roads tend to be double track, dirt, or if you're really lucky, gravel. So what we're looking at right here is the iTunes preview for Scenic Map Western USA by Granger FX, which oddly enough worked in 3D television stuff in the past. And this is what the basic iPhone application looks like showing up on there. It's $10, and there's Scenic Map Western, Eastern, Central, Alaska, and it's kind of crazy because when you look at these maps, some people have been really frustrated with them when they're buying them on iTunes, which, you know, I think it's partially because people don't really realize kind of what these are for. Take a look at this, what's on the screen right now. This is a classic DeLorme gazetteer. I still always travel with these in case somebody like A steals the iPad, B, I drop it down a freaking cliff or something like that. The truck dies and the batteries run out. But the idea is that you've got this, normally you would have a giant collection of Topo Maps, right? This is the state of Illinois, and each of these numbers you're seeing on here breaks down to an individual page in the gazetteer. So if you look at Scenic Map, right, so the idea is that you've got this big giant page inside of here, and you have literally the entire western United States, right? If you look at what's going on, let's see, the coverage maps, and there's a lot of those moments when you're like, wait, that isn't what I wanted to show. I said an iTunes fail. Do nothing. Quit clicking on that. In any case, Western, Central, Eastern, you get the idea. But if I look at the map here and I tap 3 times, it's going to zoom me out. I tap twice, it's going to zoom in. And I'm going to slide over here. This is doing real-time rendering. They're working on a full 3D version, but what's going to happen, and it always works slower when a television camera is pointing at you, you know, it's kind of funny when stuff runs perfectly until the television camera is pointing at you. So we're looking inside of here, and let's say I want to go over to Kodachrome National Base, excuse me, Kodachrome State Park, which is probably right about there. And where's Bryce? So, and it's kind of funny, I started turning on all the additional settings, and I should point out
that's what's slowing it down.
Yeah, that's probably what's slowing it down. So let's go into here, and we're going to, let's see, turn off my apologies to the Indian lands, my apologies to the buildings, and we're going to turn off the states, and we're going to turn off the track, and populated places are still going to come up, but it's going to start scrolling a little bit better here. It's kind of crazy. Like this application is the reason I started thinking like I could really use a dual-core iPad processor, but.
Is some of that performance the streaming of the data itself?
This is actually, this is like a 2 GB file loaded onto, part of the reason they do the different versions is these are like 10-meter grids, and
nice.
2 GB I think is the cap for data you can put on here.
So you have full access to this even if you're away from Wi-Fi cell networks and all of that.
Yeah, and that's the idea. Is one of the problems I've found into a lot of the Topo Maps that are for sale on iOS and the iPhone store. So here's Kanab, and actually, okay, so this is one of the roads we drove up here. So it gives you a 3D rendering on this. This is one of the roads we drove up. Basically, you know, going from a small graded road and then going through some BLM or Forest Service roads, going back up to Kodachrome Basin. And it's kind of an interesting application, right? There's city searches, so you can go in and you can be like, I want to search for a city. There's no point of, unless I just haven't been able to find it, there's no point of interest searches, so you can you can't search for Kodachrome Basin, but you could search for a town next to Kodachrome Basin.
I assume that would tie into the GPS feature in the pad itself,
yeah.
So you could track exactly where you are.
Matter of fact, it's good right now. It just zapped us right back to San Francisco.
Because I'm thinking that looks like a lot of fun if I were sitting on a plane in the window seat, and I just want to know what it is I'm seeing out the window right then and there. And
I would never operate a GPS device on a plane in violation of the orders of the captain and crew.
That's totally legal to do.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, but, I am. I've had it actually plugged into the window. They asked me what it was, and they let me live. So.
Well, this is a good thing. One of the things you can play around with is actually, because it's being rendered, you can play around with the lighting, which is much more dramatic when you're not in a big flat part of California. If you go into a hilly section, you see how the lighting changes significantly. And I'm kind of laughing, like I wonder what else is running on this right now, because usually it responds much faster. So it's interesting. This is, I think, partially kind of an experiment for the guy writing it, but it's done a fantastic job for me allowing me to track small roads and trails as we're going through the middle of nowhere. Uses OpenStreetMap for local roads. It's pretty accurate so far. Some people have had difficulties in their communities. OpenStreetMap is essentially open sourced map data. People have gotten together to create this information, so you can help to correct it and make it more accurate. But I was actually pleasantly surprised by how accurate this data was out in the boonies in Utah and Nevada and BLM land. This is not, you know, as Robert was starting to say before, this is not turn-by-turn voice navigation. You know, if you need that, you want something like Navigon, who we were talking about just last week being purchased, or something I really like if you are in cell phone range. An application I really like is MotionX Drive. This is the HD version that runs on the iPad. It's a pretty slick application. I don't know how excited I am about the fun voices they've added, but it's pretty cool. And if you want to check out the Scenic Maps or Scenic Map applications,
male or female voice with GPSs?
I usually prefer the really soothing female voice. The one that kind of makes me think it would be saying, you know, don't panic on the back of the big giant book.
I have to say, I think I have the same setup. I can't remember if I'm going with the British voice or the US voice. I think I went with the US voice, at least with Garmin's voice tables, because they say, like here we have Highway 101 in California, they'll say Highway 101 instead of 101. And if you hear 101, you're like, what are they talking about? Oh, 101. It's kind of interesting.
Serious?
And that changes based upon the basically the locale of the voice, which is kind of, am I saying that right? Yeah.
So one last thing before we go, if you want to check it out, check out Scenic Map Grand Canyon or You Need a Map. Those are both a couple of free things you can play around with that are available through the iOS store. And it's kind of a fun way to actually start looking at the continental United States. I like maps. I'm a maps geek. Check out scenicmap.blogspot.com/p/online manual. There's a link on the front page of scenicmap.blogspot.com. That's the online manual. Super helpful, giving some nifty tricks, map style, waypoints, gestures you can use. Now we just need that point of interest search. And by the way, while I'm on here, if you see a weird display in your supermarket, or at least if it's anything like the Safeways out here in California, big giant displays of Duracell 12 volt and 120 volt power adapters are showing up.
Handy. Yeah,
this is a 1 amp 5 volt adapter to run 12 to 24 volts. And it comes with a dock connector and a couple of USB connectors. I got to say the build quality is kind of, you know, it looks horrible, but it's actually much more solid than it looks. You know what I mean? The Duracell logo stenciled on here looks like it's fake. I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy.
Knock off.
But I think I paid 14 bucks for it. It will keep the iPad charged in the car. It's not listed on Duracell.com. It's like produced under license from Gillette. So, you know, it looks borderline fake, but it works pretty well so far. We will see how it holds up. Because I'm often surprised that sometimes the cheapest, most horrible chargers last the longest.
Sometimes that's the way it works.
Because my cool guy charger I spent 35 bucks for disintegrated in the pack from hell.
Bought some iPhone accessories overseas, and they seem to be holding up pretty darn well for a good price, too. So there is always that. Now I have a gift idea for you. The USGS maps for your local grid. They're like 15 bucks.
Grid me, baby. But before that, we got to thank one of our sponsors. Squarespace, it's the fast and easy way to create a high-quality blog, portfolio, or any kind of website. If you have questions or need help, no worries, because Squarespace provides every member with amazing support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can start your website or blog by choosing from over 60 professionally designed templates, customize them, and add content from your computer, iPhone, or iPad. Squarespace's mobile apps allow you to easily add entries and manage comments from anywhere at any time. Look, many of the internet's highest traffic web pages are powered by Squarespace, not to mention many of the personal pages of Revision 3 hosts and personalities. Do yourself a favor. If you're looking for a better web hosting experience, a better web building experience, check out squarespace.com/Tekzilla to get a free 2-week trial and learn more.
We mentioned Google Maps adding a "where the heck is my bus" feature recently, and Jack sent us this response. While I work temporarily in San Diego, I use the public transit system for all of my weekend travel. Using Google Maps on my iPhone was great, and as I was getting started learning the system and figuring out the map interface, Google did a great job rerouting me if I missed my transfers. Now I know Google was just using the published schedule, but to San Diego's credit, the buses ran on time. So I'm not sure why Google needed to add real-time updates, maybe for cities that don't run as well as San Diego. Maybe those cities could get their transit systems to run on time. In any case, having transit routing on my phone was great. I highly recommend giving it a try when you're on travel. You'll save yourself some cash on car rentals or taxi fees. Google Map is there to help. Love the show. Keep up the great work. Signed, Jack in Alabama, United States of America.
It's funny, one of the things Jack said that we kind of had to trim down his email a little bit. He's like, it's great to prove to yourself you can do it if you need to.
Oh yeah, getting lost in a city.
Well, no. I got to say actually, because I've used the Google Transit a bunch recently in Portland and public transit in big cities. It's green, it saves you money, it gets you a chance to meet the locals, and it's freaking amazing. If I look at the right camera, it's freaking amazing in New York City. In Portland, for example, New York City subway system is fantastic. Portland seems to have the most efficient mass transit on the West Coast. And then Jack's like, or maybe those cities can get the transit to run on time.
I got to say, when I work in Denver, they have a transit system that seems to run constantly. So I never even looked at a schedule. Here comes the next bus, just get on, go. And cross town, back and forth for free. And it was like, you could stay pretty much anywhere in that city and get to anywhere within about 15 minutes.
I'm pretty sure the whole reason the whole know when your bus is late with live transit updates in Google Maps exists because so many Google people live in San Francisco, where Muni never met a train or bus that couldn't run stupid late all the time. Trains get stuck in tunnels because they fall off the tracks. The bus routes are impossible because of
delays.
Yeah, I mean, basically, San Francisco is where mass transit goes to be late. It's also a great place to work in mass transit because their union has a great big stick.
All right. Hey, finally, we go on to this question from Moises, who writes, I'm looking to upgrade the RAM in my Alienware Aurora ALX, but I can't decide which configuration to go with. I currently have 6 gigabytes of DDR3 1600, and according to the Alienware website, I can either max it out at 12 gigabytes of DDR3 running at 1600, or 24 gigabytes of DDR3 running at 1333. I would like to know if the 12 gigabytes of 1600 RAM performs better than 24 gigabytes of 133 RAM, and why can't I just place the 24 gigs of 1600 in my desktop? Also, which RAM sticks do you recommend? I use my PC mostly to edit huge raw photos in Adobe Lightroom and usually have Photoshop CS5 running at the same time. Thanks in advance, Moises, the Bronx, New York City.
Excuse me. The Studio Air is killing me today. That system, I'm pretty sure it ships with 64-bit Windows 7. That's a good start because you need 64-bit OS to access the giant piles of RAM you want. If you're just gaming, 6 gigabytes is fine. It may even be bordering on overkill for the next year or two. The memory speed differences between the two amounts of RAM, it's probably a limitation of the motherboard. Recent BIOS updates may have improved compatibility or performance. So there's a small chance that going to 24 gigabytes of 1600 may work. At 1600, in theory, that 1600 should throttle down to whatever speed it needs to run to on your system. The truth is, though, RAM speed, barely noticeable when you're looking at the benchmarks on an operating system. I was actually talking to Ryan Shroud about this a few weeks ago. It's like, yeah 1600, woo, you're not going to notice it. The triple channel memory controller in that system, though, it works best with the matched trios of memory sticks. So with 6 memory slots, you would want to invest in 6 4-gigabyte sticks. OCZ, Corsair have always done as well as lots of other good memory brands out there. My $64,000 question, though, is whether or not Photoshop automatically utilizes all that system memory, or if that's something you need to configure. The nice thing about having ridiculous piles of RAM in Windows 7 64-bit is it'll actually automatically start caching your applications that you've shut down or restarting into main system memory to help boost performance over time. But yeah, I mean, just make sure you're using really huge files, because if you're not using really huge files, you might just want to stick with
I'm thinking if you had just did a fresh install of CS5 or the suite in Adobe, it might actually ask you, should we use all of the available system memory? But if you've already installed it and you're just upgrading the RAM, that's where I was thinking that maybe you might need to go in and actually change a setting within the application itself, just to make sure it's seeing and using it all. Because I have a 12 gigabyte system at home running Windows 7, and I don't think I ever come anywhere close to using anywhere near all that memory. I mostly game and do other workstation-related activities, but
programmers, video
I have an
editors,
overkill amount of memory in my box right now.
Super Photoshop jocks. One thing we should also point out, I know from a conversation I had with Lloyd Case a year or two ago, there were a lot of systems with 6 memory slots that would run faster if you had 3 sticks of big memory rather than 6 sticks of smaller memory. So it may be worth researching to see if anybody has benchmarked that system using 3 versus 6 slots, although there's also a possibility that you may not even notice it, given the other benefits. Hey, you got a burning tech question for us, whether it's actually about burning tech or just a very urgent question, we want to hear it. Send it in to us, Tekzilla at revision3.com is the email address, or you can post it on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Tekzilla.
Hey, and of course, we're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TechHD, that's TEKHD, and Twitter at Tekzilla, at Robert Heron, at Patrick Norton, and at Veronica. And thank you so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Till next time, you've been watching Tekzilla.